All right, sorry about that, everybody. If you were watching earlier, got cut off there, which could happen from time to time, but back at it, and let's get through the rest of these games. Next up, we have the Warriors and the Bulls. Draymond Green's still out. Gary Payton Jr., Klay Thompson, all sitting. It's the backside of a back-to-back for them, which they are 3-3 against the spread on back-to-backs, so not a huge deal. For the Bulls, Caruso, Green, Williams still out, and now Derek Jones Jr. is out for a while as well. So that does decrease their depth a little bit. Probably not massive, but that is something to pay attention to. They're 9-4 against the spread with a rest advantage, which they'll have here. In their last 6 at home, the Bulls have been scoring the ball pretty well. They did have one game where they only scored 102, but other than that, they've had 3 at 130 or better, a 112, a 113, so really scoring the ball pretty well. Golden State on the other side has been under 100 points in 4 out of their last 5. The one where they were over it was 108 against Memphis, where they were still just getting destroyed and kind of came back and made it look a little bit better at the end. Got destroyed again yesterday by Milwaukee, came back a little bit at the end and made it look a little bit better. So much of this has to do with their three-point shooting. 35.9 season average for Golden State. They've been under that in 4 out of their last 5. Chicago has allowed that three-point shooting in 3 of the last 6. So I will say Chicago's not a phenomenal team guarding the 3. Here's one of the decisions I think you have to make on Golden State. At some point, they are going to start shooting it better from three-point range. They're going to start scoring points again. But the question is, are they going to do that now? Especially because really what they have left is Steph. I mean, Otto Porter Jr. can definitely shoot it. Jordan Poole can shoot it at times. So they do have other shooters on the floor. But they're missing Klay, and then the big thing is they're missing Draymond, and that's not because he can shoot the 3 well, but it's because of how he sets people up, and Steph in particular. With Draymond Green, we've kind of talked about this, but they've scored 110.9 points a game with him and only 102.4 without him. They give up 100.3 when he's playing. They give up 108.7 when he's not. So Draymond Green's accounting for a 15-point swing per game. The thing that you have to watch here is Golden State absolutely could just come out and Steph or somebody's hot. They shoot the lights out. They're able to put up a decent amount of points. But do we really want to bet on that when now we're getting a larger sample size that says they're just in a funk and they may not get out of it for a little bit? My biggest concern that's the concern, is that Golden State could shoot better. And the thing is, I kind of wonder if Golden State could come out and play a little bit better without Klay right now, because they've been playing without him. And so maybe they're kind of used to that. In the long run, they're going to be way better with Klay on the floor. So this is not a long-term thing. But for this game specifically, do they maybe come out and play a little bit better because they get this group back together that's played quite a bit? But I still think missing Draymond Green is a big deal here. In terms of trends on this game, really bad against the spread trends for Golden State, about 50-50 for Chicago. Golden State is 6-1 in their last 7 against Chicago, though. But again, we have to take into account these different factors. Chicago is a better and different team this year than they were last year. Golden State is a really good team, but with the pieces that they have out and the funk they're in, they're not the same team right now. So I can't put too much stock into that trend. The under is 4-1 in the last 5 between these teams as well. I think that is an interesting spot here because the Warriors have been playing so bad and scoring under 100 points a lot of the time. Again, 4 out of their last 5, they've been under 100. So a 222.5 total. I mean, if the Warriors can only put up 100 to 105, the Bulls would kind of have to go off. And they have done that some. So it's something we have to pay attention to. But Golden State is an okay defensive team. Even without Draymond, they're not great without him, but they're okay without him. In terms of the short-term trends that I've looked at here specifically, the Bulls tend to win in the second quarter and the first half, and Golden State allows 29 or more points in the second quarter in 5 out of their last 7. So I think this is potentially a good spot for a Chicago first half bet, or if it's close after the first quarter, a good spot for a bet for the rest of the first half for Chicago. I definitely can't trust Golden State here. My only question is, do I trust Chicago? The spread's 4.5, probably a little wider than I ever want to see against Golden State, no matter who's playing. But I would lean that way if I'm going to take a side, and I would lean that way in the first half, where it's probably more like a 2.5 spread, maybe 3. I like that even better. Next game up is the Hawks and the Heat. Miami is -4, and the total is 221. We just saw this game a couple days ago in Atlanta. This time it's going to be in Miami. And if you look at how that last game went in comparison to the season averages, Atlanta was worse across the board. -7.1 in field goal percentage, -8.2 in three-point percentage, -8.2 in rebounds, -3.6 in assists. But Atlanta's just been playing worse across the board recently. This wasn't a one-off thing. This is a trend for Atlanta where they've just been playing really poorly for a while now. Miami, on the other side, played around their season averages. They were 1.9% better from the field, -2 in three-point range, +9 in rebounds was the big one. But Capella was out for Atlanta, and he should still be out for today, and he's far and away their best rebounder. He has 13.1 rebounds a game, and the next best is John Collins with 8. So it wouldn't be shocking to see Miami dominate in the rebounding again here today. All of that to say, I wouldn't be shocked to see Atlanta play a little bit better in this game than they did in the last one, but I'm not sure it's going to be substantially better, and Miami's on a little bit of a roll right now. Jimmy Butler could be back for this game, which actually doesn't make a substantial difference. They've scored a little bit worse when he's playing, but their defense is a little bit better. So I'm not sure that that's enough to really do a lot with. The big thing here is Capella still being out. I went back and looked and was really surprised to find that in the 4 games without Capella this year, they haven't scored 100 yet. They've scored 91, 93, 98, and 98. So against a decent defensive team in Miami, again, not as good with – if Butler plays, they're better. They'll be better when they get Adebayo back. But they average 118 points a game when Capella's playing this year. So under 100 in those 4, that's a big deal. And I would like Miami to be able to hold them down. It maybe not under 100, but around that 100 mark again today. And if they can do that, Miami continues to play the way they've been playing, they should be able to cover this spread again. Little hesitant on the total because I'm not sure how much Atlanta will score. And so that's something I'll probably generally stay away from. In terms of trends here, very bad against the spread trends for Atlanta, about 50-50 for Miami. And then over a larger sample size, 29 games, the under is 22-7. Probably can't put too much stock in that because it's just too long of a trend to put too much stock into. All right, next game up, we've got the Cavs at the Spurs. Cleveland is -3.5, and the total is 221. This is another one where when I first saw it, I thought, oh man, this is a spot to hammer the Cavs. But again, I don't necessarily feel that way after jumping into it. So let's look at it. Rondo's a game time decision here, and actually Isaac Okoro could be back. That's something to watch. If Okoro's back and could play his full complement of minutes, I think that's a substantial thing for Cleveland, and that helps them a lot on both ends of the floor to get him back. So I like them better if he's playing and worse if he's not. This is the front end of a back-to-back for Cleveland, and their 5th straight game away, their 4th game in 6 days, and their 5th game in 8 days. So they've been playing a ton, and they have a lot more games coming up. They're 2-4 straight up on the front end of back-to-backs on the season, so not necessarily a phenomenal spot for them. They've scored 106 in 6 out of their last 7 games, but they haven't been playing great defenses. So to be at 106 plus is really not that phenomenal given who they've been playing. However, they are playing a team today in the Spurs who are not great on defense and tend to give up a lot of points. So I like Cleveland to be able to score at that 106 mark or better. If they get Okoro back, I think that probably moves up a little bit. Derek White is a game time decision here, and I think this is a pretty big deal. If they get Derek White back, the Spurs are basically back to full health. So the Spurs have been struggling, and they're a team that you would have made money on here recently betting against them. But if you can remember back to when they were fully healthy, this was a decent team that actually I think we made money betting on more often than not. You have to go all the way back to December 23rd, the last time that San Antonio was basically all together, and especially White and Murray both being in. But if you look at their last 10 going back from December 23rd, this is a team that was scoring the ball really well, but also giving up quite a few points. So in those 10 before, they scored 138, 116, 114, 128. I could keep going from there, but basically the low was 104. And in 8 out of 10, they were over 110 points a game. In terms of how many points they were giving up, they did allow less than 100 a couple times, but they allowed over 120 in 4 out of 10 when this team was all together. So the Spurs, when everybody's healthy, is a team that plays pretty fast. They have a lot of shooters around Murray. White can create his own shot, and Murray takes some of the heat off of him. And so they're a team that can be formidable on offense, but they do tend to play fast enough that they give up a lot on defense. And if Cleveland plays at a faster pace, I do like them to be able to score quite a few points. Jakob Poeltl has actually been terrible against Cleveland, against Jarrett Allen in particular. He's averaged 2.3 points a game, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.3 assists. So if you like those player props, you might even want to look into some Jakob Poeltl unders today. So this is a spot where I do like the offense for Cleveland and the offense for San Antonio, especially if White's back and Cleveland is generally healthy. Looking at the trends, both of these teams are about 50-50 against the spread. There's an extremely strong under trend for Cleveland, a little bit of an over trend for San Antonio. Cleveland is 5-2 in their last 7 at San Antonio, and the over is 4-0 in the last 4 at San Antonio. So that trend speaks to what I'm thinking in this game, where I like the over. I would definitely like if I could watch live and get it down again to about 216.5, but I'm considering it pregame. Especially if we get the news that White is in. I think this could be a good spot offensively for both of these teams. And spread-wise, I think it's probably about right. So I'm not really excited to jump on the spread on either side of this one. All right, we got 2 games left. The next one up is the Mavericks at the Grizzlies. Memphis is -3, and the total is 216. Continuing the trend here of me looking at these lines and having a first impression that I didn't keep after I looked at the numbers, I thought I would hammer Memphis here. They're on, I think, an 11-game winning streak right now, mostly blowing people out, playing phenomenally on offense, playing good defense, really good team chemistry. I mean, there is nothing to not love about Memphis right now. So why would we not hammer Memphis? Well, let's talk through it. So Memphis has scored 110 or more in 10 of their last 11. And the other one was 104. They've scored 115 or more in 9 out of their last 11. So like I said, just rolling on offense right now. Dallas has been playing good defense overall. I got pretty high on them defensively, but when you go back and look at this, and I have to give some props to Phil Nason's at Cash with Flash, Dallas has mostly played really good defense against very bad teams. And when they've played good offensive teams, they've struggled a little bit more. They at least haven't held teams under 100 like they have been in those other games. When we look at Dallas's scoring, which is going to be a big one in this game, especially relating to the total here is 216. When Dallas plays teams that have a pace over 100 or better, which recently Memphis has been over 100 in terms of pace, the totals have been 236, 216, 216, 211, 216, and 232. So right at that 216, it's almost like Vegas knows what they're doing. But in 2 of those games, it was over that total. They definitely have scored more points and given up more points when they're playing at a higher pace. And they've given up over 100 in all 5 of those games. There were in 4 of 5, they gave up 96 once. But again, they haven't played very good competition in these pace-up games. A couple of those were Houston, teams like that. So not too much to take away from it. These 2 teams have played twice this season already. Dallas won 104-96 on December 8th, and Memphis won 97-90 on December 4th. Both of those games were without Ja Morant, which the big thing to take away from that is that Memphis is likely to score more points and to play faster now that Ja Morant is back. So I do lean toward the over in this game. I like the Grizzlies team total over, and I definitely am still going to lean toward Memphis at that -3. Just saying that when you go back and look through all of the numbers, it's not crazy to look at the Dallas side here, and it would keep me off of this game against the spread in general, probably. In terms of trends, this just adds more fuel to the fire. Very strong against the spread trends for Dallas, decent ones for Memphis, and then strong under trends actually for both of these teams. So that's going to give me pause and make me think twice about taking the over here as well. It's just in these pace-up games, Dallas has tended to score more. They probably are still without Porzingis, which is a big deal because they score quite a few more points a game when he's in. The over is 4-1 in the last 5 at Memphis. So those are some trends to look at. The other bet that maybe I would like better here, looking at those short-term trends again, is Memphis in the first half. Dallas allows 53 or more points most of the time in the first half, and Memphis is 8-2 in their last 10 in the first half, with an average margin of victory of 6.2. So again, if you can get this at 1.5 or 2 in the first half, I think that's probably a better bet than the full game. Though I'm not sure I'm going to be jumping on any of that today. Might just sit back and try to watch the Mavs play again and enjoy what they're doing. All right, last game on the slate today is the Houston Rockets and the Sacramento Kings, the toilet bowl game of the day. I can basically never get the Kings right, so I'm not likely to jump on any bets. But let's break down the numbers here. So the total is extremely high in this game. Oh, injury-wise too, Sengun's still out for Houston, and Holmes could be back for Sacramento, which would be beneficial to them. But the total here at 238, one of the highest totals we've seen in a while, but there's good reason for that. In the last 10 games, if you look at the totals that these two teams have played to, Houston has actually been over that total of 238 in 7 out of their last 10 games. Sacramento's been over it in 3 out of their last 10, so pretty high percentages for both of them. If we break that down further and say what's the likelihood of these teams scoring 219 each, because that's about what we would need in terms of scoring. Houston has scored 219. Damn, that would be like the highest total ever. So 119. Houston scored over 119 in 3 of their last 10 and 1 out of 4 away. And Sacramento has only scored 119 in 1 out of their last 10. So very rare for them to score that high. However, Houston has allowed 119 or more in 8 out of their last 10 and 3 out of 4 away. Sacramento's only allowed 119 or more in 2 out of their last 10. In terms of trends that we could add to this, the under between these two teams is 5-2 in the last 7 at Sacramento. Houston's 7-3 against the spread in the last 10 between these two, and 4-1 in the last 5 at Sacramento. So all of that adds up for me to say that this total seems really high. I mean, I think everything has to go. It absolutely could go over. Like I said, it's gone over 7 out of the last 10 in Houston games and 3 of the last 10 in Sacramento games. So between the two, about 50% of the time, it absolutely can happen. Just saying, if Houston has a cold shooting night, if Sacramento has a cold shooting night, it doesn't take much for this game to go under. And one of the things that I would consider here is even playing it the unders a quarter at a time and just kind of seeing how the game is progressing. Looking quick at some of those short-term trends that I talked about, Houston is 1-9 straight up in the first half in their last 10, and they allow 30 or more points in the first quarter most of the time. Sacramento allowed 57 or less in the second half in most of their games as well. So it's just kind of a tricky one here to know what to do with the over-under, because they could get there. But at the same time, I just think everything would have to go right. So this is a game that's probably a stay away for me just because of the volatility and because I don't trust either of these teams, and it's hard to get a read on what they're going to do. All right, that's the breakdown of all the games for today. Again, hopefully there's some information in there that can help you make decisions on betting for your day. And again, sorry about the break in the middle there. If you're listening to the podcast, hopefully I'm able to get that fixed. So hopefully you don't even experience that. Best of luck to everybody today, and I will see you on Twitter.